Welcome to Forever Exiled. I'm Justin AK Tags.
Tyler, Wrecker of Days.
Episode 176. You're going to have to be
That's us.
the upper for our episode today.
Tell us why, Justin. Tell us why.
I'm exhausted. I'm sick.
Sick as sick can be.
Can't get over this. I'll tell you about it in a little bit. But anyway, yeah, welcome to 176 Forever Exiled. Big shout out to our patrons. Thank you so much for the support and for supporting the podcast. We love your faces. Patreon gets you access to After Dark, which is our podcast after the podcast. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. It's just more us, more chatting, plus a card and a sticker as long as you put your address in.
Pretty nice, pretty nice. And thank you, Charles, for the lovely voice message that you left us. On our website, there's a cool thing where you can leave us a voicemail.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
I guess you could say. Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. I used to be the only one that used it. Now I just send Justin like trolling messages pretending that it wasn't me. But of course, then I'd sign it as Wrecker of Days. But Charles, thank you for the lovely voice message. That was very kind of you. We really appreciate it. And more of a sad anonymous shout out, but there was somebody that messaged us in a method with which we can't reply. And so I just wanted to say that we're very, very sorry for your losses. Thank you so much for your support. You've been absolutely fantastic. Please don't ever feel bad or guilty about it. We wish we could do more for you, but good luck with your losses, and we're very sorry for you. And thank you so much for all your support. So, we've had normal weather for a while.
It's been sunny.
And you remember when we had our flood a year and a quarter ago, right? We had about, just as a disclaimer, this is totally off topic, but if you can hear my kids in the background,
come through.
I apologize. Today's a day off for, it's for where we call them professional development days, Pro D days. Justin's and my kids are both home from school today. So if there's lots of background noise, Justin's fantastic at editing, but if somebody's screaming in the microphone, that's not something you can typically take out.
No.
I decided to not tell my kids to be quiet. I just want them to have a great time, and then they probably, never mind. It's just fantastic. So anyway, but when we had our flood, we had about 250 mils of rain in a weekend, right? It was crazy. It was insane. And then as the ground's trying to saturate, then we had another onslaught of another weekend. And then the weekend after that, we had freezing everywhere. And so there was like it just completely manipulated the land, all that kind of stuff. So here's Auckland in New Zealand. They get the same amount of rain in a weekend that we had. The very next weekend, they get a cyclone. They get a freaking hurricane that comes through, and I just hope, anyway, my heart went out to them. GGG's still posting. I've seen Bex post a couple of times as well. It seems like, things are okay. Obviously not with the city. The city just went through a cyclone, and before that, floods, landslides, all that kind of stuff. But we just here want to give our sympathies for those that have lost, homes or work or locations. Hopefully not people. And just want to wish our best to everybody in Auckland as well, because that's insane to go through that kind of flooding, to have the ground completely saturated, nowhere for the water to be, and then to have a cyclone come through half a week later. So our hearts go out to you, as mentioned to the previous person. We wish we could do more for you, but we hope everything's okay, and we wish you the best, even if it's not.
And there's Tyler's phone. Get it done.
I can't put my phone on D&D today. I can't put my phone on D&D today because I'm expecting a phone call from a furniture store for the dining room set that we've been waiting for 2 months.
Truth be told, you don't ever put it on D&D.
It's true, but at least this time I thought about it ahead of time. So there's going to be lots of background noise. My kids are going to be running around. My phone's going to be going off, and my apologies. But more importantly, we really hope everyone in Auckland and the surrounding areas are all right. But I wish we could do more for you.
How's your week?
Well, I wasn't in a cyclone. And, everything's fine. Everything's good. So considering the stuff that's been mentioned to us the past week, I have lots to be grateful for, and especially normal weeks. It's nice. We had parent-teacher interviews this week with the kids, and so that was awesome. Well, we have good kids, right? They excel at school, and they're obedient. They're role models for the other class and students. So it's, they can be short conversations, right? I mean, the parent-teacher interviews go long when the rest of the class is really bad because they're so thankful for your kid. But if all the students are great in the class, then it's just a really nice and quiet stuff. So no, it's good. It's nice. It's nice hearing that your kids are actually the same kid at home than they are at school. I wasn't like that. As from what I remember, I was a good kid at home, and I was an absolute monkey at school. Constant detentions. So Yeah, so no, it was nice. I mean, the kids are only in grade 2 and grade 4, so it's no big deal. But yeah, no, it's normal week. I've been waiting for the I was remember
We're
last
not
week I was
there.
talking about seeds. No, I know,
Yeah.
because next week I was looking at the 14-day forecast and we have a week coming up of -11, -10, maybe for a few days. So
Mhm.
it'd screw up all the work we would do this week. So I think that
Yeah.
after that, though, that'll be it. I mean, that's the end of February.
You're a little early anyway. Like March is sort of like end of February, beginning of March is sort of when you're starting to get into it.
Yeah. But I mean, you're not hoping for -11 weather at the end of February where we live. So hopefully that's the end of it, because I'm excited to get that outdoor work going, get some raking done, get the seeds out, plant some onions. Let's see, onions, strawberries, green onions, maybe some peas. I like the stuff that you can snack on, out in the garden. You just walk out.
Do you garden like just in boxes or do you have an actual?
Well, I mean, we lived in an apartment for the majority of our marriage, and so it had to be in pots. And I like the cleanliness of that for the most part. I enjoyed it, but it didn't allow room for growth or anything like that. You would have to, and some stuff could be perennial, like some of the veggies could be perennial, but for the most part, you had to replant and things like that. I mean, garlic was one of the only things you didn't have to replant every year in pots. But since we bought a house, which was what, 3 or 4 years ago now, I don't know, but do you know? I don't know, 3
Something
or 4
like
years ago. I tried doing some stuff out just in an open garden. So I wasn't even making any massive boxes. You know what I mean? Some boarded up areas for the garden. I was just putting it actually in just a dirt thing and out in the open space in our backyard. And I didn't mind it, but there was way too much weed control that it required, stuff coming from the neighbor's yard. I mean, we have 3 neighbors that share the backyard per se, you know what I mean? Like back and the 2 sides. And it was just too much maintenance for the pros that open gardening would do. So I've gone back to this year. I'm going to buy 2 more containers, but I'll only have 3 containers. My biggest pet peeve, honestly, was just because of the layout of the house. When we come out of the kitchen, we're coming out on the top floor. I have to go out the deck and then down the side of the house, down the stairs, and then to where all the sun is in the backyard, because we have some massive evergreens on one side. So it covers the whole backyard in shade for the most time. So there's only one spot in our big backyard that actually gets sun for the majority of the day in the summer. And so it's on the opposite side of where you get down the bottom of the deck stairs. And so I would have to walk all the way across and then water. I know that's lazy. But even when it came time for dinner and I'd be growing things like garlic and I'd have carrots and I'd have raspberries and I've had onions, it would just be like, I don't want to go all the way over there for that. And so I would come up with something else where I didn't need to use those to make a good dinner. And it just ended up growing just because it was too far away. So, I had to learn that about myself though, because I haven't been in a house for too long. And so now I'm just going to the gardening where I found some really nice, long, maybe 2 foot wide containers. Long, so they're rectangle or ovalish, and they'll go and they'll be near the deck, but in a way that my wife approves. She doesn't like deck clutter, nor do I, but in a way that my wife approves. And then I'll just need to go out the deck door, cut a few things off, come back in and chop them up for dinner. So
Nice.
So that's what I'll be doing this year, and I think that's the way it'll stay. I like it. And they fit well with the deck blinds that we have. In the evening, that sun just like pelts the house. And so we have some deck blinds, and these containers fit perfectly with those deck blinds and the spaces that there are. So Canadian Tire, if you get rid of that perfectly sized container, I will be disappointed. Anyway, no, I had a great week. How about you? You've been on the verge of hell all week, I think.
Yep. So, well, here, work was work. It's still bad. I'm not going to really say that anymore. It's still sucky, and it's going to be probably sucky for a little bit longer. But
are we talking weeks or months bad?
I don't know. I'm not sure. We have our AGM next week, so we'll see how things go after that. But that's another reason why it's been crazy busy this week. So we recorded Friday last week, and I had been sick that week, but I thought I was like kind of on the mend, getting better. We recorded Friday, and then I went to bed Friday night. I was super happy because I actually had all our episodes done. Like everything was finished Friday. So I went to bed Friday night, and then I woke up on Saturday, and it was like I had run a cheese grater through my throat on Saturday morning. I felt awful. My throat hurt so bad. And then I developed a cough, like this, like heavy, dry cough that has been around all week, not going away. I don't have like symptoms of being sick anymore. Like besides this really annoying cough and a little bit congested. And I've tried everything. like to the point where I couldn't sleep. Saturday night, I went and slept in our guest room because I was going to keep Christine up the whole night because I couldn't stop this cough. So I've been taking pills. We got cough syrup with codeine. I've tried everything to try and get this stupid cough under control besides calling the doctor. So that's probably my next step. But yeah,
It hasn't improved?
No, has not improved.
It's been a week now and it's not any better. Eh?
Yeah. It's
You test
so
yourself?
annoying. Nah.
The only time that I registered positive for COVID, I had a lingering cough that lasted over a month. I think it was 2 months.
It
when
could
we were
be
recording.
that. It probably was, but it doesn't really make any difference testing wise to know because it's not like I can't.
Yeah, our
it's not like I can do
restrictions
anything.
doesn't change anything. No.
Yeah, and it's not like there's anything special anyway. So I wouldn't have any doubt that that's probably what it was or is. But this cough is just killing me. Like, and it's a combination of the cough in my head. Like, it's really messed my head up, and it's also then combine all the shit that I'm taking to try and get through the week. Like on, I don't know if it was Tuesday or Wednesday, I was getting ready for the day, and I was about to put some moisturizer on my face, and I almost squeezed toothpaste onto my hand. Like my head is just like, I was making a drink one of the mornings this week, and I literally walked into our pantry 3 times to grab one of my mixes and never came out with the right one until the 3rd time. Like my head is just completely fried. I can't focus on anything. So getting work done this week has been an absolute nightmare. So
that's my life, man, and I sympathize with you. I'm so sorry that because it sucks. It sucks because you have, of course, because of your roles, you have greater responsibilities than I do, and that just sucks to go through.
It's so hard to do it when it's busy. Like I would have been fine being sick when it wasn't busy, but yeah, it's been awful. I think I don't know. My body's just being a jackass right now. Like I thought I was better. I thought Friday I was like, all right, we're turning a corner, feeling better. And then Saturday, it just kicked me in the face. It was brutal. So, what else did I do this week? Mostly because I was trying to work, but man, it is hard. I'm not used to not having clear focus like that. I'm usually quite good at that. Like I'm able to sit down, really focus into what I'm doing. I could not do it this week. And it was driving me crazy. Like I was getting really angry because I couldn't focus. So in sort of off times when I was just losing it a bit, I turned on Valheim. I was playing Valheim a little bit, and that's been fun. I set it up. You can play it all modded. It's a survival game. It's a game on Steam. It's a survival style, but I added a bunch of mods. So I'm playing it with like a bunch of mods, which has made it quite a bit more fun. I played it originally just in its original state and then trying it with some mods, but that sort of at least takes my head out of the space of having to focus too much, and then I can get back into doing stuff. But yeah, man, it's just been a garbage week of trying to get stuff done, trying to focus on work, and then trying to find what concoction can I put together. Actually, I was talking to one of the guys in my office, and he was like, I don't think it's going to help you with, he's like, I've never done it because of a cough, but he's like, you could always try what I've tried when I'm not feeling good and I just need to focus and need to get into something, but know that I'm going to crash later. And I was like, dude, I'll try anything. And he says he takes Robaxaset, which is like a muscles type one for your back typically, and vodka, 2 shots of vodka. And I was like, he's like, I get crazy good focus for like 3 or 4 hours and I can really do what I need to do. And then I know I'm going to crash and pass out later. I was like, all right, I'll try it. Which our friend who's a pharmacist was not happy with me. Well, because I also combined it with some cold medicine and some other stuff. It was fine, but I was able to like focus for a bit, mostly because you don't really feel too much. Also, though, Robaxaset isn't probably as big of a stimulant for me anymore, just because I've had back issues. So I've taken Robaxaset for a long time. So that
your body's probably on me. Your body probably just throws out all the stuff you're taking. You're like, oh my goodness, I've had this before. It's water. Come on, that's it. Give me something better.
Yeah. So I don't know. I've literally been trying everything this week to I'm taking ephedrine, like literally anything I can find that maybe has some effect on your nasal and your head and whatever else, and just some energy. And I had to take caffeine pills through the week to like really try and get shit done. Like I had to get to meetings this week, and I was walking into them not high, but floating for sure. Like I could feel a little weird. So Yeah, man, I'm done with it. I need to just be done with this sickness because I can't handle it. And being sick doesn't usually bother me so much, but it's just been brutal this one, especially because it came back. Like we're 2 weeks in now. I don't have time for this. So anyway, that's my week.
When we don't have an episode next week, around. Oh, what you actually we have to move it around?
Yeah, my EGM's on Friday. But it's morning. We'll talk about it later. But yeah.
You want to do Thursday or Saturday?
We can still do Friday. We could just do Friday evening.
Okay.
Whatever works for you.
Whatever works for you. But when we don't have an episode next week because Justin's dead,
I'll
start messaging in Discord and I'll be like, okay, I mean, we'll be mourning and I'll have like a nice little blurb for you and stuff.
Just do my
how
face.
Great you are, how fantastic. No, I'm using that ugly AI face you made for our Discord people. And you even put it on a mug for those that want an absolutely disgusting mug to wake you up every morning.
Amazing.
Yeah. So thank you, by the way. But I'm going to put out a poll. How did Justin die?
And I will bet
you, well, I don't think any of the options would matter except for overdose.
I can't overdose. It would take way too much for me to do that.
And that's it's comments like that where people are going to be like, yep, that's it. I win.
As much as I do, I'm joking, talking about taking a lot of stuff. I am really careful about it. I do actually give a shit about making sure my body's fine and taking care of myself. And I plan to live a long time. So I'm not going crazy. I wouldn't take anything that I thought was risky. But yeah, if I'm not here next week, I'm in a better place. I'm sleeping.
Hallelujah, just hallelujah. You got your wings. You got your wings.
Sleeping. All right. Anyway, yeah, you know what? It was a week. I'm really done with this though. I don't want to do it anymore. So hopefully it's finished. I appreciate all the people reaching out. I had quite a few people reached out and said, hope you're feeling better and blah, blah, blah. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
Let's do this week in PoE. Hey,
let's. Despite the fact that I said I had a normal week, it was busy. So I didn't get to see, I was able to stuff like we had winners of the talent competition get posted, and those are just easy clicks and scrolls, and I got to see that. And so of course then they had the runners up posted the following day. Congratulations to all of them. They're all absolutely fantastic.
Big congratulations to Stepfor from our Discord. He was in the 6th to 10th place.
Really? I didn't see that. Good
remember
for you.
that art piece we looked at in our Discord?
Oh, the link wasn't working for me. The shows when the show wasn't working for me.
Raider in the Forbidden Sanctum by Stepfor, 6th to 10th place. So congrats. That's awesome.
There it is. Good job, Stepfor. Very good job.
The one that got in 4th to 5th place, it's a really long drawing of the bosses from Sanctum. I love how tall it is. It's it's like right above that one. It's so cool. I didn't realize that the main boss is naked, but the bosses themselves, it was so cool. I just love how it's so long. Like I just kept scrolling.
Yeah. Very, very good.
Good job,
and
everybody.
I'm sorry that I missed that. Yeah, great job. Very, very good job.
That's sweet.
They're all just so good. So congratulations to everybody. That's just amazing. I looked through
the winners and the runner-up ones, and I was taken back to one of our conversations where you were talking about how much it would suck to be the person that has to pick that. It's really true. When I looked through some of these, I was like, man, how did they pick who would be 1, 2, 3, or 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 versus like what some of the runner-up ones were crazy. Like somebody had built an actual mage blood, like leather worked it, like actually built one that looked, I don't know, it just seemed crazy. So
you go through all that effort and you see the passion that they have for your game, and you're like, you get first place.
Everybody gets it.
Yeah. See, we could never do a competition like that. Never. I wouldn't have the guts for it. So congratulations to everybody, no matter where you ranked. And I mean, that was really awesome, Stepfor. Good for you. Good for you. And sorry if there's other listeners that did make it and we're not from, and we didn't remember your name. My apologies. Didn't know. Right. But anyway, and then, so then the runners up, there was some gauntlet highlights.
Okay. Is that deaths or what is that? Is that typically?
Well, just all the same. People getting something amazing, right? People not. I mean, this Ben guy's getting some crazy attention with just how
sounds like he's just an incredible player. I need to watch his stuff because I never have, but
yeah, just decimating the game completely. And build of the week, episode 5 is I didn't. It's Creeping Frost build. My apologies for saying this incorrectly, but Jungro. And Jungroon stands out to me on Twitter when Jungroon's commenting on PoE or Bex's stuff. And because they have, in like their business titles and the things that they do on Twitter, right? They have like that little part of the profile when you click on the person and stuff.
Sure.
Anyway, something about UBC esports. So I keep getting the Vancouver vibe every time they post. I'm like, yeah, Vancouver. Yeah, Vancouver. So anyway,
cool.
So they got build of the week this week.
Nice.
And I really liked I don't know. It's like I like crying. I like crying. I'm going through, I've just discovered it, but apparently it's already on 3 seasons. Have you ever heard of The Chosen?
No, you told me about it on Monday.
Most Jesus shows are only rated well within the Christian community. The Chosen.
Well, to be honest, a lot of them are bad.
Well, no, and I'm not disagreeing with that at all. Yeah, definitely. But it's because, only people that actually care about that message and that story see the value in it. And then it's only, but it doesn't really appeal to people that don't care about Christianity or Jesus or anything like that. The Chosen it stood out to me because it had all these crazy reviews from non-Christian review sections. That just everywhere would just seem to be off the charts, really good. And so I'm like, okay, well, I highly doubt that, but let's check it out. It's amazing. It's amazing. First season's on Netflix in Canada. In it? Oh, every episode I'm freaking sobbing like a baby. I'm like, and then I watch the next one. I'm like, I didn't think it could get any better, or worse, better, whatever. It's like it just. Anyway, I'm going through. I'm on season 2, but the point of that is I must really like these crying emotional shows because I always read the div card stories, and so many times, there's a lot of really nice ones where it's just feel happy, love the game. So this is my favorite thing, and I was happy to support. A Dusty Memory is another one of those. Like, they had the puppy that was just
as soon as I opened it and saw the dog, I was like, oh, it died. I know it.
Yeah, and we're not trying to laugh because my dog's on her way out, and I'm gonna be a sobby wet sack of emotions when that happens. But Dusty was the dog's name, and so they made a div card about Dusty and
item level 100 something, right?
Fractured item level 100. Right. And that was their favorite thing to find in the game. And so it was just a nice recollection for them. So anyway, nice little feel good story there, even though it's about mourning.
It's a cute card too.
It is. It's a very nice one. So looking for it. I really like that because it adds a little bit more to the game when I discover it. Like I know it's not the
Suzu's
nicest
card this league, and I was like, I can't do anything with this. I'm just gonna put it in
I gotta keep it. And then it's like the only div card you have in standard later on is like 20 of that div card. And I still remember there was again another sad story, but there was somebody who lost their brother, and they always play Path of Exile together. And so every time I see that, I get a little teary, and I'm like, I even highlight some of these nice feel good stories, the ones that I've read, and maybe that'd be a nice suggestion. Hey, have like the div card stories as a section somewhere on the website where you can, or like as a part of the filter for announcements, so you could actually go through and read them. Anyway, I kind of like that, and I've some of them I just have them filtered a little bit different to stand out, just because I like the story behind them in my filters. So
nice.
That's it. And then what else? Almost nothing was happening from GGG standpoint. Almost all of it was community centered. Again, that takes effort, of course, but nothing game related, except that console's now up to date on the 2 hot fixes for 320.2. Cool. So everybody's on the same page. And you go
ahead. I just had a reminder to myself. No, finish up this, because I had a reminder to myself when I saw, it didn't make sense. I saw hot fixes. Then I thought in my head, they're probably not doing too much because they're getting ready to start doing the other league. But then I was like, oh, right, but it's been pushed back. This all happened really quick. I had all these thoughts really quick. Then there was a flashback to a reminder that I had this week of an idea they should do for one. You know how they do like little temporary 10-day event things, like
say it now.
Slow.
My next thing's written down, so I'm not going to forget it.
What is it this week in PoE still, or are we out of this week? Yeah,
but do your thing. Dude, who cares?
Well, hold on, finish yours, because now I got it. So finish it up, and then I'm going to tell you.
Oh, you're gonna regret saying that, buddy. You're gonna regret saying that. So anyway, but then also these are like my favorite, non-favorite posts, especially when I adhere to the prerequisites. They're hiring for a community junior role at GGG.
Okay.
And basically, you just need to be good with people. Like, there's other prerequisites, but it's not like you need to live in post-secondary. Well, yeah, and of course that's the thing. It's like, oh, I could do it, but of course I can't. But One of my favorite reasons for these posts, like it's always like bittersweet because, oh, that'd be fun to apply. But of course, you got to be local. And that makes perfect sense. So it's always, you get in that little dream state of, oh, that'd be really cool if you were the lucky person to get selected for the role and to work there. But then I love seeing all the responses that are exactly what I'm thinking. But I mean, every time that post comes out, you're not going to post the same thing. It's like, are you sure it can't be remote? Are you sure it can't be? Oh, I'd be perfect for this. And I just love hearing all the sorrow that comes from people that don't live in the Auckland area.
It's really tough for them because you could find some probably pretty fantastic remote workers, but they just can't. So.
Yeah. Oh man, sign you up for this community role. I mean, a lot of it's the back end grunt work for this, right? You're not going to be the face of the franchise when you show up, and you're not going to be the member that everybody talks about. You're going to be doing all the grunt work for all the announcements and stuff. But still, I'd love to see you with the opportunity to reply to some posts sometimes.
Yeah, let me reply. I deal with some of the social media stuff for our business.
You do.
And we have to have team meetings sometimes on replying. Because I'm like, I don't think this is a good thing for your business.
Oh, I thought you were referencing us. No, you mean your business.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Forever Exiled's easy because either I just reply because I like what they said, or I didn't see it as another option, or I'm not going to waste my time with, I don't feed people that are annoying. That's all.
Well, every now and then you throw out a thanks for listening with a winky face.
That's true. Sometimes I'm passive aggressive with it.
Yeah. You hate our show, but you listened for some reason.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite reviews. Somebody left us, which, hold on, if you're listening on Spotify or Apple, make sure you hit that 5-star and leave us a review because we really appreciate it. Or you can leave a review on our website.
Yeah, the other stars don't work, though. There's a glitch in the system. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, just hit that 5-star button. But someone who did hit the 5-star, I think it was on Apple, that they talked about how the fact that we were always off topic and we blah, blah, whatever we discuss. And then they're like, but they consistently put out stuff, which is why I guess I listen every week. And I was like, what? Why are you listening if you don't like it? It's so weird. That's so bizarre. Like you can hit a button and you move on to the next thing. But
I guess it's just that itch of wanting PoE. And we're just bottom of the barrel. They wish there was like 5 other podcasts that weren't us for PoE.
We're just real humans that like to play Path of Exile. So deal with it or find something else to listen to. Okay, this is my community management skills.
See, that's why I want you to be at GGG and be like, listen, okay, what are you complaining for? You haven't even played these changes. These are the changes coming. So shut your mouth and play it before you get feedback. And play it for 10 hours so you can see the long-term pros and cons of these changes. I would love that.
Okay, hold on. Let me tell you about my idea.
Yes, you have a thing.
So they always do these like
events.
Yeah, like they did like Endless Delve and whatever else they are. I know this is never ever going to be a thing, and I don't even know how exactly they would do it. But what I would love is a 10-day event where you have like up until level, let's say 90, you have a 500% increase XP. You have unlimited use of the passive skill tree to respec, change them at any point. You don't need regrets. Same with the Atlas passive tree. You have access to all of the crafting materials, and they are unlimited. So in the sense, and the league gets deleted at the end of the 10 days.
Right.
You have access to all of the crafting materials, and you have access to every single unique. It's just available. I don't know how they would do it, but you have access to it because there are so many times where I'm thinking of an idea or in a build, and all I can do is POB it. I can't get some play time to try it out.
Right.
But it would be fun to have a 10-day event of just having full access to Path of Exile to try and build the build and see how things work without having
unlimited
to be worried.
Event.
Yeah, it's just
no prizes, no nothing.
It's like a test event. You have full access to everything. You can get to level 90. At level 90, put the XP back to normal because planning a build to 90 to me is pretty fair. And you just, whatever you want to try out, see what works, see what doesn't work. I just think it would be so much fun to actually be able to try out builds that aren't stuck in path of building because I don't have the time or the, understanding of whether it's going to work.
Amen, Justin.
I think it'd be fun.
And all Path of Exiles people said, amen.
Anyway, that was my thought.
I think that would be awesome. I think that would open a floodgate though. Something that if you were to run a company, you could easily be like, too bad, so sad. But I think that would open the floodgate for the community clamoring for a test area within the actual game itself as well, that would be static, that would stay in the game somewhere where they could be like, I want to see if this build
that's fair
works.
though for any game. Like no game has that. No ARPG has like a build test area where you could just do whatever you want, right?
No, so they do have test dummies.
Well, yeah, I mean,
which is different.
GG could do that too. I don't know why they haven't yet, but
probably because not enough people have asked for it officially.
Yeah, okay.
Oh man, okay. I read, this is going to come up. Maybe we should push it to next week, but I read a thing about that from MMORPG. They did a re-review.
I want to actually talk about the MMORPG one. I read the whole article.
Oh, okay.
So I want to talk about that. But do you want to just get through your week in PoE?
Because that could be an entire episode.
It is going to be most of this one because I want to talk about it.
Okay, well then let's hurry the rest up here.
Let's do. Well, I didn't
totally
have a
agree.
week in PoE,
I think that would be a wicked. Completely delete. It would be so easy to ignore all the mumbo jumbo. But I don't understand why this has to be avoided event.
Yeah, it'd be easy for them to justify why it's
rewards,
avoided.
No MTX. Do you know how many people would show up? Everybody.
It'd be so fun.
The epic streamer, like, you know, maybe I don't know. Matho would probably even show up. You know what I mean? Or you could even exclude some of those uniques that, you know, who was it that was doing all of that finally got every unique in the game? Including I think there was doing it. Right. And they finally got it. And there was a recipe that they think they only know. But anyway, so I don't know. Maybe there's like a unique you can get with fishing with an albino roa feather or something. But even still, give it
to people.
Oh, I think
if there's ones that are hidden, then fine. If there's ones that's fine. I'm talking about 99% of the uniques. Right. I even think it'd be cool to have a vendor that somehow sells the base level of each item at 86. And it's white, and then you have all the crafts and you can do what you want with it. I just think it'd be so fun to have a freeing experience to test out a build and an idea without the stress of getting to 70 and realizing you can't do it. It's not viable and you maybe didn't have the ability to do it. So anyway, that was just a thought.
And I love it. I think it's fantastic. I had let's see. So you want to talk about that thing? Let's skip I'll talk about my week in PoE next week.
Okay.
Well, just like it's.
Did you
I knew you weren't playing this week, so I made it detailed. I did. All right. Well, here, let me put it this way. My Atlas passive tree. So on console, I don't have the same. I don't like when I play standard. Mm-hmm. My standard stash, my standard character is like a normal person's normal schedule that maybe gets like 8 hours a week. That's what my standard stash is for those that would play League. You know what I mean? Like I have 20 Exalts, I have 500 Chaos, I have 1,000 Elks. Like it's not glorious. It's what somebody would make after they put in a decent amount of time with a decent build, made a trade or two, and then that's it. That's what I have in console land. But that's also where I do a lot of my testing. So I have like almost no regrets. I have no, what are they? Orbs of Unmaking, that kind of stuff. So when I decide which Atlas passive tree I want at the beginning of my league, that's it. I don't have a way to change it until the new league comes and I get that free respec. And so I'm still on Torment with rogues and then the rogue metamorphs as well, which I unspec'd out a metamorph on my PC, on the league on PC. So I'm trying to figure out, right? Remember, this league for me was all about, do I want to go zombies or do I want to go with Reaper? Which one do I want to do? How much investment should I put into each? I'm trying to finalize a nice stay-at-home character that'll work league after league until something dramatic changes the mechanics or the skills that I'm using, right? That's what this whole league's been. Regular listeners, that's a redundant and boring conversation for them now. But anyway, I'm having to go through this on PC. I have an amazing character. I really built a very good Elementalist Reaper build. It's really good. It's taking on all content. You bought me a shield and a weapon that has 100% increased minion damage to both, right? So both of those equipped are 200%, and then plus1 to my physical, Reaper gem, whether it was physical or whatever it was. Yeah, so a +2. So even by removing those two and putting on some generic ones that I saved that I had before you bought those for me, I'm still very content with the clear speed and the survivability of the Reaper. I'm enjoying it. So that's like a really nice baseline for me. Even without expensive items, this is legit. This can carry me. I really like how this works. So the other ideas that I have, I'm trying out on console, but out of all the characters I have, some of them are level 72, some of them are level 88, but they're not the right ascendancy, whatever it is. And I don't have the stuff to respec the ascendancy. So I'm like, okay, you know what? Let's try this out. I'm on character level 72. My Atlas passive tree does not let me. I die so much because I'm trying to build an occultist reaper and see what that's like with poison, and then see if my phantasms can live with the minimal survivability investment that I'm doing. And oh my goodness, it's not conducive to letting me level new characters. One time, even just the normal torment, that's terrifying, because normally by that time, when it's your first playthrough, you don't have the whole Atlas passive tree filled out. You barely got there. And even if you do have even if you went to torment first and did all the torment nodes first, you're still not, everything else isn't beefed up the way that it is. But man, I cannot do essence fully beefed up. I'm getting obliterated. Rogue metamorphs obliterating me. Normal torment, I'm running for my life. It's terrifying. And then even the rogue exiles, I had one where I got everything that has a chance of rolling happened in this one map. It had, everything was tormented. I had 20 rogues, but they were also doubled. So I had 20 rogues in pairs. There were 40 rogues in that map. I also had 2 bodyguards, right? Those are the rogues that have the 150% more life. 2 bodyguards. It was a double boss, and there was 5 tormented spirits waiting in the boss arena for me to arrive. So this is a normal T5, right? This is a normal T5. Obviously, none of that would happen if it was my first playthrough, because I wouldn't have had all the ascendancy points yet. But it was nerve-wracking. I obviously, I was dying a lot. I brought in one of my fully decked characters, and it was terrifying. It was in the T5, my completely solid Righteous Fire and Bone Zombie build, both individually. It was running like crazy. It was so scary that when I was I wasn't dying with those solidified characters, but I was like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna portal out and bring in another one just to see if it's just that scary, or if there's a certain weak point with one of these characters. Anyway, it was a lot of fun, but I'm like, oh my goodness, that was a T5. Oh, crazy. It was so crazy. So it was kind of fun. It was a lot of fun, but
it's really tough because there's not much of a solution to that. People have talked in the past about different characters having different Atlas passive trees, but that doesn't work because you can swap a character out to finish a map with a different character.
Yeah.
It's a really tough thing to try and fix, but I do know what you're talking about. Taking a new character into maps after you've been there for a while, it's rough.
Yeah. And I actually like the pros and cons of this. I like it. It kind of makes it your league starter, maybe consider making your league starter not just the way things used to be, as you're get the currency you need. Now I'm going to re-level. Now, if you're going to re-level, it's going to be terrifying and you need to do it properly. Or, you think about, it's extra planning ahead.
You probably could have unspec'd a little bit out of it if you wanted to, right?
It would have been really one orb of unmaking to get rid of the rogue metamorph. But Torment is 3 separate clusters. The rogue exiles are separate. It would have been a pretty heavy investment to get rid of. All that being said, though, it was a very interesting experience. None of that's a criticism. It was just scary. And I was surprised how, when everything rolled together and it actually went, that it was even difficult in a normal T5
with your main character,
a level 91 character that can do all content. So, but the idea that I'm trying on console that's probably not going to work is I've fully invested into curse efficiency, vanilla curse efficiency, nothing with items or anything yet. And I'm using Arcanist brand. Is that how you say it? Arcanist? Arcanist brand. Because Arcanist brand will just cast whatever spell that's linked to it without the reduced curse efficiency that Blasphemy or Hex Touch or Bane have. So I'm trying that out. And so I'm playing Arcanist brand with the amount of investment for curse efficiency. And it's difficult. I don't like the Arcanist brand playstyle. I don't like it. When you're doing that as with all that curse efficiency and you're applying 3 curses to people, Arcanist brand is your primary skill because it's constant. When you're mapping, it's they have to be cursed, they have to be cursed, they have to be cursed, they have to be cursed. And because it's with an analog stick that I'm aiming, they do a very good job with analog stick aiming. Very good job. But every now and then it's off, right? And the trigger area for for a brand that's on the ground isn't overly large when you have zero investment into brands. I don't know if that improves brands. I've never played with them. But so you're putting a little bit more effort than you should just to make sure that the brand is on the enemy. And then you're going back to make sure it's like, okay, did that actually go on the rare, or did that brand go on one of the enemies that's already dead?
This is a witch.
So yeah, it's an occultist.
Because there are some brand things that you're kind of close to that do help quite a bit, but with no investment into brands, brands can be really annoying for using them to curse.
Well, the problem for me is that curse efficiency requires a lot of investment.
Yeah.
And so I'm right now, this test is also seeing how efficient, if I care to have that extra investment, that's what, like almost 20 nodes. Now I'm already close to these nodes with starting as the occultist and doing minion stuff. I'm close to the majority of these nodes. So I'm looking at about 20 nodes, which is huge for that curse efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
Is that worth all that?
Right, the 20 points, yeah.
Right. Now, I'm not going to use 3 curses if I'm not investing into curse efficiency. To me, that's a waste. Right. My elementalist that has 0 curse efficiency, I'm using Enfeeble with Blasphemy, and I'm getting about 14% less damage from rares and uniques. To me, that's awesome. That's 2 sockets with 0 investment, and with all of the mana reduction and life reduction, reservation efficiency that I've invested into, it's like 16-17% that it's using up. Like it's good. Like that's a very good investment for me, because even if I chose not to use that, I could pick up any other 35% aura, and it's it's 24%. It's 24% what it registers. Anyway, like that's a much better efficiency. So I'm balancing that. Like, do I just use Enfeeble and with 0 efficiency, or do I take these like 20 nodes and do that? But then it's like I don't have the space on my tree to invest in much else. And so like, is that really strong temporal chains in Enfeeble? Does that make up for all the other investment? And I'm really finding, especially with them being a primary, like it's not passive, it's a primary skill that I'm needing to apply that with. I'm finding that it's not really worth it, but as a personal preference of play style. But man, it is so hard to let go of a fully invested in temporal chains, and you see these guys snaking slowly towards you. They can barely move, especially when it comes to Blight. It is so good in Blight because you just put up level 1 chill towers everywhere, and they're already going slow. You don't need anything more than that. Then you throw them with a fully invested vanilla temporal chains, and they're barely moving. They're barely moving. It's like you seeing them frozen, but they're like breaking out and they're moving really slow. That's what it looks like. So it's really hard to get rid of that, but I don't think it'd be good for any of the premium content the game has to offer. But that's what I did this week. That's what I did. I'm sorry that took 10 minutes of our time, but
no, it's fine.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about this article. So it came out yesterday.
Did you read it yesterday? And
no,
or
I read
did you
it today.
Was it because of my post, or you saw it on your own? Okay.
No, this is all you. It's posted yesterday by somebody named Mitch Gassner on MMORPG. It's called Path of Exile, the re-review. So I did read all of it, and I actually liked 90% of it. I thought he hit some points very solid. I'm torn a little bit, and we can get into sort of why. But he played back in 2013. And then he played again a few years after that, and now he decided to pick it up just because of Sanctum and Ruthless and all the stuff that's been coming out of it. So he said, as a casual PoE player, I started dozens or so characters over the years. Before doing the review, I only completed the campaign twice. First was when it first launched in 2013, second a few years later. This time I started a fresh character to set out to see what Path of Exile had to offer in the current Sanctum League. And that's where his review is sort of based on.
All right. So definitely, like from a Path of Exile player's perspective, barely able to make a legit review. Very, very light, not even casual, very, very light, but has some very valid points because, well, we'll get into it.
None of his points are focused on endgame. And which is pretty clear about that he, and his, I don't even know how to really start with this. He talks about all the craziness, but, his first title for the first section is the beginner experience, the tutorial that teaches you nothing, which is sort of a vibe through his whole article, which is that the GGG just does. And I have to say, the way he words things, I thought was quite good. Like he does recognize the things that they do well, but he also really heavily points out the fact that they don't it's not a good new player experience. And here's where I'm torn a little bit, and I want to talk more about like what we both think of this article. When I first played Path of Exile, and this is going back years and years ago, one of the things I liked about it was that most people didn't want to play it. It was hard. You couldn't screw up, and if you screwed up, you had to start a new character. And it set the bar for the level of people who are playing it to be much higher, because a casual person, and this is going back to 2013, 2012, it wasn't going to be a big pickup for a casual player because it was hard. It was unforgiving. There was no tutorial. There was nothing that taught you.
Right.
And I think that's sort of where GGG lined themselves up years ago. Like they, and I remember Chris saying in the early release times that they liked that. It was a hard game. They wanted to weed out the players who didn't want to do it. But I think it's pretty obvious as time has progressed that while they do like that idea, they're also a business that needs to make money, and to make money, they need players, and they need players to stay, and they need players to spend money. It's a free game, so they need that.
You need to have a catch for a new player to want to keep learning about the game,
for them to become a long-term player who is willing to spend money. They have a very dedicated fan base, but you're kind of crazy. Yeah, you're kind of crazy to not always be thinking of how do you expand that? How do you make that bigger?
Right.
How do you get more money, which allows you to do more development and allows you to improve the game more? And in the end, I don't care how many people don't like it, whatever. They are a business. They have to make money, and making money has to be a part of how they deal with their business. So I when I read this article, I found myself a little bit torn from my old way of thinking to now. I don't have the time I had when it was 2013 to play a game. And I was thinking, if I picked up Path of Exile right now and never played it again, I don't know that I would play it. I'm not sure it would have the same hold on me as it does now, but that's because I've played for almost 10 years. I understand the game. I know what I like, what I don't like. When new stuff comes out, I can understand in my head, how does that relate to other stuff? Does it change? You know what I mean? But for a brand new player coming in, his representation of what a new player experience is like, to me, was pretty bang on.
Yes, I think Mitch, what's your name? Mitch Gasner did a fantastic job reviewing this from a new player's perspective. Even though they aren't a new player, but they can definitely relate to being a new player. I thought this article did a very, very good job explaining it.
Yeah, he was talking about and some of the stuff he talks about is actually stuff that even for myself, having played as long as I do, still bugs me. You know, he says, you do one, is that phone call? Pause, unpause. So he talks about the struggle to understand.
Mitch. Sorry, Mitch. Right?
Is it Mitch?
Yeah, sorry.
No,
I was still in cardiology.
He was talking about the struggle to understand, like, if you focus on your defense and then something happens and then you die, he says you come out of a fight on the other side to the savage realization your character is being steamrolled by everything you encounter. What did you do wrong? He says the truth is you didn't do anything wrong. GGG did. And he's not wrong.
You said like you didn't do anything wrong, but
he's saying
did.
What did you do wrong?
Right.
And he's saying the truth is you didn't do anything wrong. GGG did. And he goes on to explain the fact that it doesn't teach you the mechanics. It doesn't get you to understand how defenses work, what stats you should be focusing on, whether you should be focusing on single defensive styles, movement, whatever it is. It doesn't, besides you dying, it doesn't do a good job. And then even when you do die, he says, you know, if all of a sudden I die, you don't know what killed you. Was it the big guy swinging a hammer? Was it lightning bolts falling from the sky? Where did those lightning bolts even come from?
Right. I giggled at that one because it's like, don't even.
Right. So I think I really liked the article because I thought he drew a lot of attention to the stuff. And we've talked about this before. It's so weird to me that they took something like the Chinese realm and created something that's more hand-holdy for a new player, and they don't use that everywhere. Because for a player like myself or you, it's no different than just clicking off skip all tutorials. If I don't want to follow it, then I don't follow it. But for a brand new player that picks up Path of Exile and lands on the coast, there is no information. He even draws attention, and we've had people like sort of argue with us about the help content. It's not good enough for a brand new player. No. It might be decent if you understand all the mechanics and you can just reference some stuff, but in the end, it is not a proper help section. It's not a proper.
It hasn't been updated for years.
Right. I don't get why they don't do that. I don't know why they don't take this archetype idea that they have in the Chinese realm and say, maybe it's a Path of Exile 2 thing, but I feel like they've probably lost out on a huge amount of money by not, and the thing is, you don't have to actually alter the game for the people who play all the time, comeback every veterans that are always here every league, playing heavy, paying money to play or to buy the MTX or whatever. You can make changes that have no impact on them at all by introducing some form of a tutorial or a suggested archetype or something that better introduces the player to the game to keep them playing. Because like, I still think they should have something that is like at level 64 you get a free respec. Like by the time you end maps, or sorry, by the time you kill the last Katava, it awards you one free full respec. I understand that it's an argument even inside my own head, because I hated the idea of that going back in the day. But now me thinking about it and realizing my availability of time to play, my commitment to play, like the amount of just free time I get, it just makes sense to have something that's, I understand they don't want it to be like too easy, but you've also made it very difficult for people who have never played a game like Path of Exile, and you cannot compare almost any other game to it. Like, it's not Diablo-ish. Diablo, you could completely change things whenever you wanted. You were never at risk of messing up your character. There's very few games. Dark Souls is sort of like that. But there's very few where it's just like you make this decision and you're stuck with that decision without putting a lot of time into it.
Right. But even all those other great games that you mentioned, they have, it's still generic. Like in this game, you have attacks and spells. Who's to like, okay, what's the difference to a new player? Attacking is, it doesn't matter. Like, it's not melee, it's not bow. It's like, it's all of those intertwined. It's like, I'm shooting a fireball, I'm attacking. I'm hitting you with a sword, I'm attacking. Like, it's all the same. And in this game, you're investing into stuff that you assume is beneficial to your character. But I think, remember CW a long time ago, he was talking about this and they asked why he wasn't keeping the tutorial section up to date. And it was because they didn't feel like there was a need for it, because they didn't hear the community mentioning it. And to me, I really hope that's not the mentality anymore, especially with PoE 2 coming around the corner in, like, let's say latest. I know you think it's coming out in 2 weeks, but latest January 2024, right? Let's assume like it's coming out within a year. If you don't have a tutorial section, if you don't have anything to help new people understand the basics and the excitement of progress for your game, you are so screwed. And you have to do that on your own volition. New players do not care if you have a good game. They do not care if you go out of business. They do not care how well Path of Exile does. They aren't going to give you feedback. Only people that care about the game, that don't need these features, are going to be able to do that. And most of the time, especially, I mean, look at the community that we have. They're focusing on things that would help their experience get better. Very rarely are you having people like us that have been playing the game for forever looking back to the new person and being like, they could really use this. So GGG really needs to take their own motivations, and whether there's a clamoring for it or not, what is good? What's good for retention? How do you do this? And I know that they have their rules. I remember Jonathan a long time ago saying, from the time you load the game to the time you're in gameplay, it should be less than 10 seconds. Outside of you thinking about what you want to name your character, click, 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 click. But in GGG land, you're picking between which ascendancies. Like, not everybody's good for melee, not everybody's good for spell casting or minions, you know what I mean? Like, there's definitely a lot of stuff that they need to rethink and rework to make it work. But yeah, I think their new player experience is been thrown by the wayside for way too long. I totally agree with this article.
Yeah, and it really is too bad, because anything they did to make it better would have no downside to the normal player.
Sorry, you're talking about anything GGG does.
GGG did to improve the new player experience would have zero effect on a person who's always playing. If you give people the ability to have suggested archetypes, if you give more information in a tutorial, more information and help, that's not a bad thing to any existing player. Like, you can make it so much better for a brand new player without having any effect on the existing player. The thing I suggested with regards to the respec at 64, that is maybe a little bit different because that could have an effect. But I still don't think anybody would think that was bad, because you can, it's just, I know some people, you could take advantage of it. Here's a tree to level, then you're going to swap your tree at 64 and this is your map build. I'm not sure that's terrible, but I get it. I do understand that. But I feel like for a brand new player, if you don't want to do that, then you have to have something like what they have in the Chinese realm, which is, here's our suggestion. You open this tree and it's going to be scary, but here's our suggested. Do you want to play a caster? Do you want to play a melee? Do you want to play a bow? What's sort of the style of build you want?
Yeah.
Here's a defined basic run of the mill. It's not going to do anything special, but here's the way you should sort of go through it and start to experience how it works, because they do lose out on a lot of players, and they are in such a different place now than they were in 2013, when they were like, we're fine. If people aren't going to like our game, they can walk away from it. We get it. That's okay. That's not the same GGG anymore. I know they like to say that they're, some people won't like their game, but in the end, they have shareholders. They have people who need to make money. They have staff. Like they have to make money. And you make more money by bringing more people in and getting those people to stay.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a really well worded article. I really liked it. I didn't think I was going to when I first started to read it, but I was completely, I read so many of his lines going like, oh, that's actually very true.
Yeah.
That's totally true.
There's a section in it called "You're Doing It All Wrong." He's like, you're doing it wrong. You don't pick up all the junk that you see. Most of it's pointless. You don't clear every mob of every area in the campaign. That's completely pointless. You don't use the crafting currency that you pick up right away on early game gear, because it's going to get replaced soon. Like you don't do the things. If you play the way you think you should be playing, you're doing it wrong and you're wasting your time. And he said, even if you could resist the urge to clear out every area of every instance and kill every mob and loot every item, even if you could resist that, you might enjoy the campaign, but you're still going to be way behind the 8-ball of fixing your character. Like there's nothing you can do once you start making choices that don't intertwine with the character that you actually want to make. There's no room for error. You have to know the character you want to make to enjoy the game. And if you're new to the game, you have no idea what kind of character you want to play. It doesn't give you room for trying things out. That limitation is based on your first selection right off the bat, and you didn't even know you were limiting yourself by your class selection anyway. But he's like, the only saving grace that this game has is a helpful community. That's it.
In the sense of like fixing your character.
Fixing your character, getting build advice, looking things up. But he's like, by the time, like, you have to have chosen before you like the game or not if you want to commit yourself to it. Otherwise, nobody's going to care. People are going to move on to a completely different game to scratch that itch, right? But it's the prospect of, this is a free to play game. So why isn't there a focus on hooking these people in? It's so weird to have a free to play game, but then not care about the new player experience. That it's like a conflicting marketing mentality.
It made sense to me in 2013 when they were just this small group. They loved the fact that it was a really difficult game. That was the focus. That's not it anymore. It just isn't. Like the game is still difficult, but that just isn't the focus. You don't have a friggin' convention for your game if you're a small indie game.
All right.
So for them to grow, they need to be having some sort of effort put into these new people so that they get latched in, they get hooked, and then they start paying GG money because it was fun.
Yeah.
At least something. And I'm not saying like make everything super simple, but I
No,
think that
they
what
need
they
to
have on
make
the Chinese
choices, but
side
they need
is
to
smart.
Yes, agreed. A new player needs to know what their choices are and how it's impacting their character and the types of decisions knowing why you die makes sense. Like this person said they spec fully into evasion, realizing it maybe handles a third of the damage that's coming towards them. And they just thought it was generic like every other game.
Well, they said like it's going to block all but 20%, but then all of a sudden if I get attacked by a bunch of enemies, then I'm going to take damage and I don't really understand what killed me. So,
yeah. And
I can't argue with that because that's 100% true.
People need to know why they died.
Yeah.
So
he does end it off saying that it's one of the best ARPGs around.
Yep.
And he's not wrong. It really is. It's just the problem is what makes Path of Exile so good is once you are into the end game and you have to get people to the end game. It's so weird, man. Like we've heard Chris say too, they know they have people hooked when they get to maps.
Yep, that's retention skyrockets at that point.
Right. But they don't do anything to help that process. That's what I find so bizarre.
And they even started it in 3.0 with the tutorial section and the help section, and then they stopped investing in it. It made zero sense. Now, we beat that to death in previous episodes, granted not recently, but yeah. So at the end of the day, even though we pointed out a lot of these things, they said, and it actually was kind of surprising to hear that this person, as its 10-year re-review, gave Path of Exile an 8.5 out of 10 when most of it was critical. But the cons that they had to summarize were you have to use outside resources to understand basic game mechanics.
100%.
Very true.
You do.
And very nasty. There's no easy way to reset a character early in the game.
Yeah.
And I know that's what you're mixing on, but I agree. That's what the campaign's for. And then this one is something that very experienced Path of Exile players will also agree on. The campaign is a throwaway component after the first completion.
Yeah.
It is. It's very tedious to go through. If you get to Act 6 and you realize the type of character you want to play, right? Like, let's say you're that first time player and you're like, oh man, I actually really would rather do, spell casting and projectiles instead of this. Now you got to start through the acts again. And it's like, okay, I'm going to play a different game.
Think that's the game. If people think that acts are the game, that's unfortunate. If you just pick up Path of Exile and you start playing and you don't realize there's all of this stuff that's waiting for you once you get through the acts, it's too bad.
Yep.
Because I think it does lose out on a bit.
Yep. And then the 3 pros. So those are the 3 cons of 3 pros to summarize were amazing end game, new leagues every 3 months to keep things fresh for those that are diehards. And then there's a strong player community. So. But unfortunately, like one of those is game specific, like actual gameplay specific. The other ones are the company coming out with new DLCs per se every month. And then the other ones, like people love the game, like one of them's actually gameplay specific. So anyway, Mitch, if you ever hear this, awesome episode, awesome episode, just awesome article. Oh, Seahawks fan. Hey, good for you. Good for you looking that up. All right. Well, hey, same time zone. We'll have to give him a shout and say we enjoyed the article. But anyway, Mitch, good article. And hopefully for all of us fans that want GGG to grow, Path of Exile 2 has considered all that new player content because they're probably beyond the point of adding it now. And that would be, if they haven't chosen to do so, a post-launch edition, and that would suck.
Yeah, I hope it's in there. It would be crazy to me to not. So anyway, let's wrap this up, eh?
Glad you enjoyed the article.
I did. Thank you for linking it. I quite enjoyed the whole thing. So maybe we'll post it on our Discord or something. So if people are curious about it, it's on mmorpg.com. It's called Path of Exile, the re-review, if you want to see it or read it. Let's head on out.
Hey.
Forever Exiled 176. I'm Justin, AK Tags.
Tyler, Wrecker of Days.
Thanks everybody for hanging out with us. Patrons, we will catch you in After Dark, where I shall be drunk and heavily inebriated, hopefully. Everybody else, we'll see you next week in 177. If you're looking for more information, you can find it down below. We got a website, foreverexiled.com. We're on Twitter, foreverexiled82. We have a very fun Discord. You should be a part of it if you're not. And patrons and other ways to support the podcast are down below. Don't forget to hit that 5-star review because we love your face. Bye.
Love ya. No, wait, let me do that again because I was making sounds at the same time. Love ya.
Love ya.